I never thought the worst betrayal of my life would happen over a text I wasn't supposed to see. It was 2 a.m. when Jake's phone lit up on my nightstand. We'd been together 3 years, lived together for 1. I trusted him with everything. But that night, half asleep, I glanced at the screen, and my world shattered. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, babe. Last night was incredible." From someone named Lily, with a heart emoji. My hands went numb. My chest felt like it was caving in. I sat there in the dark, staring at those words, trying to make them mean something else, anything else. But deep down, I knew. I woke him up, asked him who Lily was. He didn't even hesitate, didn't stumble over his words. He just looked at me, cold and distant, and said he'd been seeing her for 2 months. 2 months. While I was planning our future, while I was talking about moving across the country for his job. He said he didn't love me anymore, that she made him feel alive, that I'd become boring, predictable. He packed a bag that same night and left, just like that. 3 years gone in 30 minutes. The next week was hell. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I'd scroll through his social media like a masochist, watching him post pictures with her. Lily was everything I wasn't. Blonde, confident, the kind of girl who wore red lipstick to the grocery store. And he looked happy, genuinely, disgustingly happy. They were already calling each other soulmates, already talking about trips to Europe. I felt invisible, replaced, like I never mattered at all. But then something shifted. I was crying in my bathroom, staring at myself in the mirror, when I realized something. I'd spent 3 years dimming my own light for him. I quit my marketing job because he said it stressed me out too much. I stopped seeing my friends because he didn't like them. I wore less makeup because he preferred the natural look. I became smaller and smaller until there was almost nothing left of me. And he still left. So what was I mourning? A man who never deserved me in the first place. I decided right then. I wasn't going to beg, wasn't going to fall apart. I was going to become the version of myself he'd regret losing, the version I should have been all along. I started small, got a gym membership, not to look good for anyone else, but because I needed to feel strong again. I called my old boss and asked if that senior position was still open. It was. I took it, double the salary. Then I reached out to my best friend Emma, the one Jake always called dramatic. We went out that weekend. I wore a dress I'd bought years ago but never had the confidence to wear. Red, tight, powerful, and for the first time in months, I felt like myself. But here's where it gets good. Emma worked in PR, and she had connections everywhere. One night over wine, I told her everything. How Jake had humiliated me, how he'd moved on like I was nothing. She listened, eyes narrowing, and then she smiled. "Leave it to me," she said. I didn't know what she meant, but I trusted her. 2 weeks later, Jake's company announced a major merger. His boss was retiring. And guess who was brought in as the new regional director? Emma. She didn't tell me until it was done. But suddenly, Jake's perfect new life had a problem. His new boss was my best friend, the one he'd spent years trash-talking, the one he'd called unprofessional and petty. Emma didn't fire him. That would have been too obvious. But she made his life very uncomfortable. Every project he touched, she scrutinized. Every mistake she documented. And Jake, who'd always coasted on charm, started to crack. Meanwhile, I was thriving. My new job was incredible. I was traveling, meeting new people. I started posting again. Not revenge posts, just my life, my success, my happiness. And people noticed. Old colleagues reached out. I got headhunted by 2 different firms. One night, I went to a work event and met someone. His name was Daniel. He was kind, funny, successful. And he looked at me like I was the only person in the room. We started talking, then dating. I didn't rush it, didn't need to. For the first time in years, I was whole on my own. Then came the karma. 3 months after Jake left, I got a message from Lily. She was crying in her profile picture. The message said, "I'm sorry for everything. I didn't know the whole story." Apparently, Jake had cheated on her too, with his coworker. The same coworker he'd told me not to worry about. Lily was devastated. She said he'd been lying to both of them, that he was in debt, that the trips he'd posted were all fake, just for appearances. She'd found out he'd been borrowing money from her, using her, and when she confronted him, he'd done to her exactly what he did to me, ghosted, moved on, left her destroyed. She asked if we could talk. I almost said no, but something made me say yes. We met for coffee, and hearing her story, I realized Jake hadn't won anything. He was still the same hollow, broken person, just with a different victim. Lily apologized. I told her it wasn't her fault. We actually became friends, bonded over surviving the same monster. 6 months after Jake left, Emma told me he'd been fired. Too many complaints, too many screw-ups. His reputation in the industry was ruined. Last I heard, he was working retail, living with his parents, single, miserable. And me? I'm with Daniel now. We just moved into a beautiful apartment downtown. My career is soaring. I'm happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. Not because Jake's life fell apart, but because mine didn't. He thought leaving me would set him free. But all he did was free me. From him, from the smallness he made me feel, from a future that would have destroyed me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do to someone. It's who you become without them. And I became everything he said I couldn't be. Everything he was too blind to see. He moved on fast, but my comeback? It was faster, stronger, and permanent. And he'll spend the rest of his life knowing he lost the best thing that ever happened to him, while I'll spend mine knowing I dodged the worst.